Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today I have a Christmas card project for you using the Toll Tidings stamp set. So let's just get started. Okay, here is our card that we're making. And what you need to make this card is I started with a base that was real red, that is 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4.25. Then I have a piece that is 4 by 5.25, and that's to go on the inside. Then I have this beautiful piece of Mercury glass that I just cut in my die cutting machine, and here it is. I cut the piece of Mercury glass 4 by 5.25, and then I used the third largest of the stitched rectangle dies to cut out this and make it a frame. So this piece will now fit right on here. The good news about this is that you end up with a piece that is cut the interior here to just about 4.5 by 3 that you can use on another project. So we'll save that, and I'm sure we'll find a use for it. The next piece I have is cut 2 3/4 by 4, and that's going to sit on the inside of our Mercury glass acetate frame on the card. So these two pieces can be put down immediately because there is no raising these. What's raised on this is the sentiment, the bird, and the branch, and we have some stamping to do on the interior one. So in order to get this stuck down, first of all, this Mercury glass paper comes with a protective sheet on it. Okay, I guess I took the cover off of that one. So let me show you on here. This is another piece of the acetate, and there you can see I've got the edge started, and all you do is peel this off. And it doesn't make any difference on the card whether you take that piece off before or after you die cut it. I've done it both ways and it works just fine. This piece has already been removed. So what we're going to do is put some snail on this, and I have used my snail on the areas where there's a little bit more of the silver print on here so that you can't see the snail behind it. And quite honestly, there's enough of it there that there's no problem sticking this down. So I'm going to center that on my card front. And there we go. Getting that piece down. Doesn't that make a beautiful frame? So pretty. Now this piece also has no dimension to it, just going down flat. So I think we can go ahead and put that into place. And I'm going to center that in here. There we go. All right. So that part of our card is done. So the next thing that you have is I have the interior of the card where we're going to do some stamping. I have my sentiment where I'm going to do some stamping, and then I have this large piece of scrap that I'm going to stamp my bird and my leaves or my branch. So let me bring that material over here, and I'm using real red ink for my bird. I'm using Sahara sand for the branch, and then I'm using black for the sentiment inside and out and then putting a little red flourish on the inside. We also need a little bit of red scrap to cut out the backing pieces for our sentiment, which I have here. So let's go ahead and get our stamping done. The first bit of stamping we're going to do is to get this bird stamped, and it's a big die, so we're going to take the ink pad here to the stamp and get that inked up real well, and then I'm going to put my bird along, let's see, one edge of this paper with plenty of room for my die to go around it on all sides. There we go. And because it's a big stamp, you want to make sure that you press down top to bottom on this and get a good image. And there we go. So let's see, I'm just going to go ahead and clean that up because I know me, I'm liable to put my hand in it. So there's the bird done. Now on the, let's see, we'll need the red ink again, but not for a minute. So I tried doing this large branch, and we're going to do the same thing. Take the ink to the stamp. And I tried doing this both first and second generation, and I didn't like the second generation. It was just too light. So I'm doing this in first generation, and I'm going to set this down over here again, so there's plenty of room for my die to go around the outside of that. And there we go. So there is my branch. Now, I'm going to further finish my coloring. There's nothing special about this at all. I am just using my red, real red marker to make these berries red. And then I'm going to use my alcohol markers on the leaves. Okay, so here are my pieces that are colored and cut out. And I did add a little bit of crumb cake on the bottom of my branch. And it looks like my tape took off a little bit of my branch here. I'm going to see if I can fix that by finishing off my branch there. There we go. All right. So this is going to go here on my card, kind of down in this corner, touching both the edge of the bottom and the side and going across this way, because that will allow me to put my bird right in here and still have enough room for my sentiment up here. So let's go ahead and do the stamping on our sentiment. And this is my tidings of comfort and joy, and I'm going to be doing that in the Memento Tuxedo black ink, which I have just re-inked. So it should be nice and juicy. So I have my tidings of comfort and joy, and I'm going to stamp that on my piece of scrap here, kind of in the middle, so I can make sure I can get my my label around it. This one is the Everyday Label, is the one I'm using. And let's see, I think that's dry. We're going to put that in here and cut that out. This comfort and joy just fits on this. This label. And there we go. Then we need another piece, another one of these labels cut out in the red, because I'm going to rim that label in the real red. And I'm going to just cut this in half. And as soon as I'm sure this is dry, I think it is. Okay, so then I'm going to put some snail on the back of this label. principally at the ends, because I want just a hint of the red showing along the edge, because this label is already pretty big. So if I set that up and I hold these two edges so that I know that that is nice and the same, then I can do the same thing with this one. I'm going to pick this up and put just a slight edge on it there, and I'm going to make sure that that's lined up, and there we have our beautifully edged little sentiment. Now on this, what I'm going to do is put some dimensionals on all of this material, the bird, the branch, and the sentiment, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I think that this piece, like I said, needs to touch the edge of the frame on all of those sides. So, and I think putting that down ahead of time so I can see exactly where things are going to go is a real easy way to make sure that you've got your card set up the way you want. So I'm just going to remove these release papers here. I'm going to put this branch in place right down here with the edge coming back up there. Then the next to go on will be my bird, because I've already dry fit this and know right where it needs to go. I'm going to put just a little bit of snail on his feet, because that's going to go on top of the branch. And right down here, and it looks like I've got dimensional in a place I don't want it there. That's going to have to go over the branch. So I'm going to cut a little piece of that off so that it now goes smoothly over the branch and still supports his tail. So there we go. Now I have plenty of room for my tidings of comfort and joy, and none of it feels too crowded. So this is the last piece I'll put in place on the front of the card, and then we'll do our stamping and finish off the inside of the card. Okay, so runaway sentiment here. Okay, so if I put my sentiment right up here in the corner, leaving a little margin here on the acetate border and a little margin there on the acetate border, I think that's just the right placement. Now, on the inside, I have my piece that is cut 4 by 5 1/4. And I had just a little difficulty with this stamp giving me a really good crisp image the first time around. So what I did was I set up the Stamparatus here. And let me see if that's right. That looks to be right there. And so I'm using my Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I'm going to put this message down, and you see it came out very light, and I wanted something that was both darker and a little more crisp. So that's the beauty of the Stamparatus. I'd have no chance of doing that. Look at that, it's just great. And so I'm going to do a little bit more down here on the bottom, and there we go. I've got an absolutely, well, every time I say that I want to do it again. But I've got a nice, beautiful, crisp sentiment there. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to peel off my card there, and I'm going to put in my flourish, which is here, and I'm going to do that with some real red ink. And I thought I would put this flourish right up here at the top of that sentiment in red, and then right here below the sentiment in red. Okay, there we go. And I've got a little blemish down here that I'll take off camera. Okay, so there we go. That is, I think, all of our stamping done. Now this piece is going to be ready to go on the inside of our card. Dimensional backs, aren't they just everywhere? Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my piece in place on the inside of my card. There we go. And the last thing I'm going to do is to put some rhinestones on the front of my card. So I'm going to put one of these large ones up here, and then I'm going to put smaller ones dotted around various places on the card. And I like odd numbers, so I'm thinking I'll add a total of 5. So one more, and I'm thinking right down here underneath his tail. Looks like that dimensional back didn't come off to get put in place there. Okay, there we go. All right, there is my beautiful red cardinal card. Isn't it gorgeous? I just fell in love with this idea of the acetate. I've been dying to use the acetate, and so I was really looking forward to finding a way to do that, and I thought the frame would work just beautifully on this card. So there we go. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator, and or you could join my team. The details are always listed below the video here, and I'd be happy to talk to you about it and crafting and anything else you'd like to talk about. So let's see, my prize draw for the month of October is a stamp set bundle out of the catalog again. That seems to be real popular. People like that idea because you get to pick your own prize, which I think is really very, very nice. So all you have to do is put an order on my website, lbedinger.stampinup.net, and or you can get to it through my blog, www.inkandingenuity.com. So again, that's it for me. I'll be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye.